All right. This is the Steady Mobbin Podcast with your host, Black Mob.
And Glory.
We are having the conversations you can't have with the people you can't talk to. And to my far right, we have...
Introduce yourself, my friend.
Yes, sir. It's your bro, Danny O, the Vigilante. And hey, man, this is round 2 for us.
This is round 2.
You guys.
And you broke a record because, like, usually when people come into our studios, it's usually like a year gap or 6 months gap. But this is like the shortest gap. I think it was 6 months now. 6 months in between.
Yeah, it was definitely less than a year because this album dropped in May and it was fresh at the time
June,
we talked.
July, August,
Dope album, and it's a vinyl.
Yes, sir.
What y'all know about vinyls? My goodness.
Got to do it.
Nice and crispy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you guys for having me back. Like I said, man, I'm a fan of your podcast.
Thank
I'm
you so
watching
much.
when I'm not here. So to
Thank you
be
so
here
much.
is like, it's a lot of fun and a privilege too.
So what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm good, brother, man. 2025 just started. And like most people, I kind of have resolutions to like keep things positive or even more positive than they were before. Health-wise, mental health-wise. I appreciate that. You guys talk about that on your podcast, the importance of mental health. And that's like something I'm focused on. And obviously I'm here. One of the main reasons to talk about my latest video, which is focused on some of the negative shit that is happening in our lives and has always happened. And I know when we were here last time, we talked about how racism is one of the kind of key themes of the Vigilante album. Even the album cover, as you can see, I'm like lynching a Klan member. So the Turn It Around song and now video finally, which just has visual. Shouts to Xentury, who sings on the record, Big Sprox, who produced the record, and Fleet Normality, who directed and edited the video. You guys have talked about this on the podcast too, so I knew this was right up your alley. Like, Trump's about to take office again.
Yeah.
And as positive-minded as I'm trying to stay, this was a record that needed visuals.
Yeah.
And in part, not just because he's taking office again, but we've already seen how people act out there, and the song in the video covers over 100 years of anti-Black racism. So
It's crazy.
I'm here to move forward with my message and put it in my music and do what I do using my platform.
When did you guys shoot the video?
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Before we get to that, quick question.
Yeah.
When Trump won, what was your initial feelings when the outcome was clear?
I knew it.
You know it.
That was my initial feeling, was I knew it. And the reason I knew it is something I'm very disappointed in and ashamed of. And that is, his opponent was a Black woman. And I remember when Biden dropped out, I was like, good, but I'm wondering who's going to, like, Kamala Harris being the VP was the obvious choice. But for me, it was also, I don't know. Like, I hate, I'm sure you brothers feel this. Like, as a Black man, I consistently feel like I hate the feeling of just knowing or feeling what the rest of the world is thinking. And even though I would have easily voted for Kamala Harris, my deep-rooted feeling is like, I don't know if they're gonna do it. It's the same way I feel right here in Canada. Like, I love what Jagmeet Singh comes out and says, but I don't think Canada's gonna vote for this dude.
No.
You understand? So that's the thing that bothers me. So I remember, bro, I posted
Big shout out to Jagmeet Singh, by the way.
Big shout, bro.
We need you here.
Scarborough,
Been
bro.
sending emails. Please.
That would be amazing. And I rate that you've had politicians on the show. That being said, I remember seeing this interview with Gavin Newsom, who's the governor of California.
Yeah.
And this goes back like 6 or 7 months ago, and he was like ripping on Trump in this interview. I think he was on a late night talk show. I'm like, yo, this is the dude. He was articulate, funny, affable, and said all the right things.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, this could be the guy.
But do you think America's ready for another white guy president?
That's the problem. And that's the point I was just making. That's all they're ready for.
Yeah.
That's all they want. Because when I put a post, or it wasn't a post, I commented on, this was right when Biden like said, I'm stepping down. And I said, yo, this Gavin Newsom dude could give Trump a run for his money. Something to that effect. And a Black woman got on my ass like, oh, you might as well put on your MAGA hat with a comment like that because, oh, the Black woman can't this, that, and the third. And I was like, whoa, not what I meant, but that is my fear. And my fear was realized, fellas, because here's what the numbers, I'm a numbers guy. I'm not a math guy. I'm a statistics guy. Donald Trump got 2 million less votes than his last election.
Ooh.
less. He lost 2 million voters. The problem is that 14 million less people voted for Kamala than they did Joe Biden.
Yes.
A white man will get the votes that a black woman won't. What else do the numbers tell you? These are people who said, I can't vote for Trump, but I can't vote for her either. So they decided not to vote. Non-voters put Trump back in office. And I knew it was going to happen.
I tried to speak it into existence. Kamala, and it didn't work.
I'll be honest with you. I just felt like Kamala just didn't have what it takes to take it to the next level.
You know,
no,
she didn't have it. She didn't have Obama factor.
Dude,
she did not have the Obama factor.
This kind of reminds me of a Chris Rock joke. This reminds me of a Chris Rock joke.
She did not have the Obama factor. I'm just speaking facts.
In his neighborhood, he's got Michael Jordan, Mary J. Blige, and his neighbor is a dentist. Meaning that for people of color to live in that neighborhood, they got to be the best in their field. Meanwhile, his neighbor is a freaking dentist. Listen, you're talking about a guy who literally tried to overturn an election.
Yo, dude.
Hey. I'm not saying.
But we gotta set this amazing bar.
But give me a sec. You got to give me a sec here. I'm not saying Kamala. Trump rather is a better. Kamala was Trump was a better choice over Kamala. I'm not saying that.
Yeah,
I'm just saying Kamala did not have the it factor to take it across the winning line.
What the fuck is Trump have?
I want to ask, what do you think that it factor is that
Obama
had that she did?
So what Trump does is that he's rallying a core group of Americans, which is like the nationalists.
Yes.
We came off of Obama after George Bush. 8 years of stale white cracker shit. You know what I mean?
Well,
and
centuries of
that too. But then yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, but that was like, so George Bush was like entering the internet phase, like the like heavily connected phase.
Right.
And like we were just tired of it. Same thing. I'll bring it back to another example. Stephen Harper and Trudeau.
Right.
We all love Trudeau. He had the it factor because he was young, hip, and good looking. Kamala always looked like she was about to panic in a room. If you look at her videos, if you look at her interviews, if you look when she comes into when she does rallies, she just looks like she's about to panic.
It's interesting, brother. Everything that you just said about Justin Trudeau, I would say about Kamala. I mean, I fully had a crush on her from long before she became the VP. I'm like, so looks, personality.
Yeah.
Like when I saw her appearance on SNL and Maya Rudolph was playing her, I'm like, yo, she's got some chops. She's camera friendly. Yeah. Like I didn't see any of the I can't vote for her rhetoric that I kept hearing from people. All I heard was black woman, because the reasons that they were giving for not voting for her didn't add up. For example, the inexperience thing. This is a prosecutor. This is a person who's a governor in California. Not governor, district attorney.
District attorney
in California. Like, again, and you're making a comparison to Trump, who, real estate mogul, TV host, misogynist pig. What experience were you looking for from her that you think Trump has that makes him a more worthy candidate for presidency? None of the arguments were adding up to me.
No.
All I saw was 14 million less people vote for her. And what's the real reason? I don't see it in the inexperience argument.
I think also the people are afraid of status quo, and I think Kamala represents the status quo of the Democratic entity.
So, but what is the downside of the so-called status quo when the other side, as Glory pointed out, is somebody who incited an insurrection? I mean, it's amazing to me in a world where everything is recorded. We didn't hear about the erection. Whoa!
Pause.
Yeah.
See, this is.
I'm talking about Kamala.
That's his fault.
No.
Wow. The
Cute
insurrection.
niggas.
Yeah.
Like
I was listening to the mob
We're
reaction.
speaking about Kamala, so that makes sense.
Thank you.
We love you though.
Thank you.
Respectfully, Kamala.
Respectfully, that was the Freudian slip right there.
She was cute when she was hanging out with Montel Jordan.
But
or Montel Williams.
The insurrection, as you know, was televised. Everything's televised. Not televised, social mediaized, if that's a word. Like we see everything. When we saw him give that speech, you gotta go down there, you gotta fight. So we're just talking about one of the many horrible Trump isms that have occurred that give reason to him not even shouldn't be eligible. We haven't even talked about him being a convicted felon. There's so many things.
And I think
I
think that's the power of white skin. This guy literally in our face said January 6th was a love fest.
Yes.
What other racial group could get away with that?
Exactly.
And we buy into it.
I'm not arguing that, gentlemen. I'm arguing that.
We literally buy into that.
I'm arguing the fact that she just was like plain toast.
So let's go back to, do you think so, though?
I felt like she's plain toast. She's just plain toast. Status quo.
But that's not necessarily bad either.
They're coming off the heels. They're coming off the heels of, you're right. They're coming off the heels of Bernie Sanders, Saunders, being shat on by the Democratic process.
Which I always thought was crazy. Yeah, I agree with that. I thought that was crazy. Because Bernie was my guy before Biden became the guy. And I was never a Biden fan. And you want to talk about like milquetoast boring, like compared to Biden, if we're going to compare, president, that's going to follow up another president, she had way more energy, youthfulness, all of the things, all of the factors that we're looking towards and like who should be a leader.
It's back to the Chris Rock joke, man. Black people just got to be
He's right. I agree with that because
gods.
Yeah. How did she get 14 million less?
Meanwhile, Trump is just got to be this just white, essentially. This guy's a felon, number one, 34 counts, civilly liable of sexual assault. Sparked the insurrection, lies left, right, and center, demonizes Haitians, demonize Mexicans, demonize people from Congo, talking about using force against Greenland.
Oh, man.
It's like, dude, he's talking about allies here.
Yes.
Honestly.
You know what I mean? Can I go to you and say, yo, I want to just take your shit and then claim it's a negotiating tactic? Yeah. That's how you negotiate with an ally?
I would fight like right away.
But yet,
the army
we talk
right
about
away.
what Kamala doesn't have, and we completely skip over Trump.
You know what the worst part is about it for me, bro, is you get his followers going, that's not true. Like I said earlier, we see everything I've ever said about Trump is because something he has said.
Right.
And they love to come out and go, the media, and they have you brainwashed. I'm not talking about the report. I'm not talking about what my brethren said. I'm not talking about watching the Steady Mob podcast. I'm talking about his mouth said the words.
We can watch it in 4K.
Yes. So I'm judging him based on what he said.
You can watch it word for word.
And they'll go, but nah, he didn't. He didn't mean it like that. Like they're translating like he doesn't.
They do this weird translation thing too. It's like, that's not what he really meant.
Really mean that.
But meanwhile, Biden says something. We can't translate that. No, that's what Biden really means.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Trump, he didn't really mean this.
The flubby debate that he had where he's kind of like not all there, Biden, they raped him on that. And maybe even justly so. But they would never paint Trump with the same brush or use the same measuring stick. And he has said, you bring up the Haitians. We're talking about the debate. So the debate with Kamala, when he brought up the cats and dogs thing, all he needs to do is say it for them to believe it.
And that's why it's a cult.
Trump has never said the words, statistics have proven, or studies show, and then follow that up with a statement that has evidence to support it. He just says,
the dogs,
but they're eating the dogs and cats. And that makes it gospel to his followers. And you have enough of those followers, you win an election. Truth don't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It's just what you say. Your rhetoric, as long as they believe in it, we get to say this kind of bullshit now? Because we don't like these people of color in our country?
Yeah.
That's my guy.
Yeah.
So let's be honest. Let's look at it. Look at it. In an approach where we're finding the root cause of all this. Hip hop has been around for how long now? 50 years.
52.
When has it became mainstream? Like when was it like on TV? What year was it? Like 20 year, like in 30 years ago? Or
30. I'm looking at the early 90s.
Yeah.
How much progression have we've done as Black people in the diaspora? How much progression have we done in the Western world where racism is basically not like the slavery that we've endured over the last 500 years? Have we overcome it yet? Or is it still there?
I think it is blatantly there. And I think this Donald Trump conversation is an example of how much it was kind of living somewhere under the rug until he pulled the rug back and said, a leader is going to say the things that you guys are keeping quiet about. And all of this racism is dead rhetoric. I say it in the Turn It Around thing in the Turn It Around song where it's like, you're claiming racism. Just speaking about it is what makes racism. I've heard people say, well, stop talking about it. You keep talking about it. Keep bringing it up.
Right.
That's not what racism is.
No.
We're talking about something that's happening. It is happening. It exists. So, that's the sad part about it is social media has helped us bear witness to it in ways we were never able to. Back in the 90s, what was it, 91 when Rodney King got beat down? The only reason that was a huge story is someone had a video camera.
Imagine that.
No one needs a video camera. You need this and this only, and everyone's got one. So now we see the deaths. In the Turn It Around video, there's a handful of deaths. Clips of the deaths that someone captured on their phone. And that's the only reason we know about the Eric Garners and the Tamir Rices and actually that was CCTV footage, I believe. Sonia Massey, Breonna Taylor, this comes from also body cam footage. So it's the advent of this technology that's helping us see what has always been there. And now that we're seeing it, it is more prevalent in our minds and in our existence. Saying the words Black Lives Matter has somehow become a faux pas in a world where it's like we're just trying to exclaim that, here's the proof to everything that we've been saying. Now, I want to address something because you brought up hip hop being approximately 30 years at least on screen, right? Like call it the 80s, but I remember when Rap City came around the early 90s, I'm like, we're getting to watch hip hop videos on its own show. And Turn It Around, the music video was really inspired by the early 90s shit, like when Public Enemy was dropping Brother's Gonna Work It Out and videos where there were clips of stuff.
Right.
I remember the Brother's Gonna Work It Out a music video having like actors portray this thing that had happened on the beach, but then at the end of the video, there was real footage of the cops rushing and beating down black people. And I'm like, that's the hip hop I grew up on. So to answer your question, I think if we were to see like a chart, it would have this great incline, and we're on a decline now. I think Turn It Around is a music video that is now so rare in our I mean, Childish Gambino did a This Is America video, and there's pieces of it out. There's artists out there doing it, but like hip hop as a whole, I think we came from a place where we were using our platform to express what was really happening in the hood, in the projects, in the ghetto, and all this stuff. In the NWA Express Yourself video, there's images of slavery, of police brutality. Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream. They break through this. I have a dream. Like I thought all the imagery in this video is so powerful. An overseer whipping his slave. You're not seeing that as much as you did in like literally, that was 88, the 80s and 90s. So here I am in 2025 putting out a video that goes back to that because no, I don't think we're collectively as a whole really using our platform and our community, our art form, which is hip hop, to do that. We're talking about Drake and Kendrick beefing.
What do you think happened? Has hip hop lost its consciousness?
I just think that the music industry took over and showed how to make brothers sisters too, a lot of money.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money in making shitty music. That's not to say that only shitty music makes money. We're talking about a lot of artists. Today actually is really dope. I'm really proud of the fact that the Kendricks and the Drakes and the Eminems of the world, we've talked about Eminem on and off camera, man, like his talent and skill. And they're extremely popular and successful. So there is such thing as skillful artists. I mean, the new Common and Pete Rock album's up for a Grammy. Happy for shit like that.
Yeah.
But when you look at the grand scope of the music industry and the hip hop that's getting the spotlight, it isn't protest music.
No, it's not.
That's for fucking sure. And I definitely didn't make this album with the industry in mind, which is why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I'm the middle-aged rapper from Scarborough. You know what I'm saying? So I'm okay with the not big star shit. I don't make music for that stuff. But big time music is not sending this message.
I think your video is coming at a perfect time because the inauguration for Donald Trump is on the 20th.
Absolutely.
And I guarantee you, in the 4 years, there's going to be a lot of shit to be protesting, especially the black community. There's going to be some shit, and don't be surprised when this dude takes the side of the police on certain... Watch, because you already say he wants to give them immunity.
That's right.
So watch. So you're ahead of it.
And I hope, thank you, man. And I hope hip hop does that. I hope, if nothing else. It's like, you know how the next 4 years we're all worried about it? But we also know that it's going to give amazing fodder to stand-up comedians and late-night show hosts. Yeah. I also think that it's going to give great fodder, if you will, material to hip-hop artists. And not just hip-hop, by the way, but artists of all kinds. Yeah. Like, I know everybody can't see this, but I'm sitting in a studio with amazing artwork on the wall. There's a lot of art that comes from pain. This album is definitely an example of that. So do I hope that chart I mentioned, that there's an incline, that's what I'm hoping for. I would love to see an incline from artists that we know, love, and respect, calling out the fuckery, bro. Because there's a lot of it on the way.
It'll come. Quick question. Have you been keeping up with this whole Fat Joe versus FBA situation and the origin of hip hop, and were the Puerto Ricans there? Were the Jamaicans there?
Yeah.
Who were the, like, was it just the FBAs there? What are your thoughts on that whole situation? Because there seems to be a debate online about who was there and who participated and not.
Well, first of all, to answer your question, no, I haven't really kept up to date with it. One of the reasons I said off camera I so enjoy watching you guys is because you guys get me up to date on a lot of stuff. I keep my head out of a lot of shit because I'm so focused on what I think is important outside of like raising my daughter, making my money, and rapping about the shit I want to rap about. I just think a lot of it is fuckery and mind mush.
It is.
So, have I kept up to date with a lot of these things? No. What I have heard, though, I think it's hard because, in this interview, we've already talked about how much shit is being documented on our smartphones. So in the 70s, we don't have smartphones to document anything. So who was there? Who was part of it? I don't think that it's untrue that Latinos and Puerto Ricans were part of a movement that was part of hip hop culture's inception.
Sure.
I firmly believe that. We're talking about Bronx, New York.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying?
I mean, if you look at movies in the 80s and 70s,
absolutely.
It's interchangeable.
Yeah, there's no question. And one of the things I've always loved about, the world of hip hop is that it has predominantly been pretty inclusive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, real talk, the Beastie Boys is the first hip hop group I ever really attached myself to. It's like they introduced me to this whole game. And then, of course, I entered into a world like they were on Def Jam and LL and Public Enemy and everybody else. Thanks to them. Now you look back at, was it, I'm going to probably say this wrong. I don't know if it was Crush Groove, was it? That there was the movie that had Beastie Boys, Run DMC. I think a lot of the Def Jam dudes, LL Cool J. Forgive me if I'm misnaming the movie. I think it was Crush Groove. But they were as much as part of hip hop as the rest of them, right? So I personally always understood hip hop to be intrinsically part of Black culture, but not specific or to Blacks only. Like it's inclusive.
Yeah.
So if the argument is that we were all part of it too, it sounds reasonable. If the argument is who is the soul, or if there's like a creator, we all give DJ Kool Herc those flowers.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Then that's where an argument is like.
But then you ask what's his background, and then he's Jamaican.
Correct. Right. Listen, I've been teaching hip hop culture and songwriting for the better part of the past 2 decades. I have always rated and DJ Kool Herc and listed him as like the founding father, and he's a Jamaican who came to, you know what I mean? So I'm a Canadian, my mom's Jamaican, my dad's Spanish. I talk about hip hop like that. Hip hop was born in the Bronx, had Jamaican parents. So if you're viewing the culture with an ancestry, of course you can tie it back to Jamaica. And then you can trace that back to Africa as well, like you can the rest of us. The drums and the rhythm. So there's you go as far back as you're going to go, you have to bring Africa into the conversation. And then, of course, Jamaica. And then, of course, it grows from there. So it didn't start with the Beastie Boys. That's just how a 10-year-old discovered hip hop. So were Latinos there in the early days in the Bronx, New York, b-boying in the parks? I'm sure they were.
100% they were there.
Right? Of course.
100% they were. But I think the contention of the conversation is, can Fat Joe, with his phenotype, right? Can he say nigga?
Yeah, I know you guys have talked about that.
He's been saying it.
You know what's funny? I think the answer to the question has changed throughout time. I think you have a strong argument in the year 2025. But interestingly, on my drive to the studio, I was rocking some Capital Punishment, which is one of my favorite albums of all time. And both Fat Joe and, of course, R.I.P. Big Pun, use the N-word all over the album. And it did not bother me when that album came out.
Well, would you say that Big Pun is Afro-Latino rather?
I don't think I didn't know the man to know whether or not he was.
Looking at the fellow, would you?
I think he and Fat Joe could be literal twins, right? Like, so I don't know that one is more or less Black than the other. They're clearly both like Puerto Rican dudes. As I recognize the argument, at least when the album came out, and I'm rapping along with Big Pun while he's saying the N-word without any worries. I recognize them as being part of a movement where we are all in this together.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, you guys recognize, I would assume, recognize me as a Black man.
100%.
As light as I am, especially sitting beside you guys right now. So we look at light-skinned blacks, mixed race blacks. I'm biracial, as members of the black community.
Yes, sir.
So the N-word pass is allowed, and other things that you would call black are part of it's not a skin color thing, it's an ethnicity thing. So if we're gonna look at ethnicity as a reason you can or can't say the N-word, then you gotta question whether or not Latinos should be saying the word, because that doesn't make them black, even though there's black people from Latin countries.
Right.
So listen, on this album, I say the N-word a grand total of once. Master Ace says it the other time. That's 2 times for the whole album. I have gotten to a point where even though I've used the word, I'm using it a lot less. I'm conscious of how people are taking it in 2025 differently than when my records were first coming out and when Big Pun's record and Fat Joe's record. If Fat Joe is arguing in 2025 that he needs to say the N-word all the time, I kind of do feel like, bruh, slow down. I think you've used it enough. And I think we've come to a place now where we're all recognizing that the usage of certain words in certain places is kind of like not exactly the way shit should go down. And that's my take.
And who's going to enforce that with Fat Joe?
He is, remember?
I've been told, no, you can't do.
You're right. He's an N-word enforcer.
But if Pistol Pete wants to say it, sure. Don't shoot me.
And we also got to understand culturally, like how Fat Joe, like he came from the Bronx, man. Everybody in that area, they were all using it. Like,
and I'm gonna say this, bro, like as a writer, and I'm a writer outside of just hip hop lyrics. Context means everything to me.
Yes.
What did you mean and how do you mean it? For example, I'll tell you this. I've been listening to hip hop since I was 10 years old. There are rappers who to this day are using the N-word as their rhyme. And every bar ends with nigga.
Nigga. Don't believe me, just
as
watch.
a source of bar writing.
It's terrible.
So from the context, from the perspective of should he be using that word, I go, as a songwriter, this is trash and it's lazy. Now you can use it from this context. A non-black person said the word. How did they say it? I bet I'm not going to call you guys on this, but I know I've been in situations where non-black friends have used it and they're showing me love or respect, or they're calling me. And I sometimes I have called them on like, bruh, relax with that, dude. But I'm also not so vexed that it turns into a race war because I understood that you're my brother, bro. Like, we're brethrens. Now, for people who still haven't figured this out, clearly the N-word comes from a place where it was used to diminish us as humans.
Absolutely.
Right.
And even though it stems from Negro, which is Spanish, and it even goes further back into the the word negro is black in Spanish. Literally, that's the word. And now we've twisted the word Negro into nigga, and now it's our euphemism. How we're using it, context, is why as blacks we make the argument. It's like, yo, this is my nigga. It's the same thing as saying this is my brother. Coming out of your mouth means something else, and therefore you shouldn't use it. It's still an argument that I understand and side with. I also understand the argument that it's so terrible, just stop. And that's why it's only appears twice on my album.
But it also gets a little messy too, because if a white person says it singing along to a song, and we know the context is obvious, we're not calling anybody it. It's just they're repeating it in a song that could cause some backlash too.
Absolutely. And it is a very tough one, man, because listen, we don't know everybody. If you're a random white dude on the street or say a concert or something like that, you might feel a way. It's like, yo, dude, like, why would you even choose to say it? Don't say it. Like my daughter, God knows how much I love my baby, will listen to music and sometimes, and she'll purposely find the clean version on Spotify and add it to her playlist. Like Kendrick, she likes Kendrick shit. And we found the clean version, she's listening to it. But if the word ever pops up and she's singing along, she classically doesn't say the word.
Nice.
Like my daughter has memorized Like We from my album.
Oh, wow.
And there's only one cuss in the whole song. I just needed to get an F out in one of my bars. And she will get to that line and pause at that point without saying the word.
Oh.
She's just a great kid that way. So if you have an understanding, and why I don't get mad, like she hears cuss words, all kids are going to hear it, but are you using it? At your 10 years old in front of your daddy, you definitely can't be using it. Now, let's get back to the N-word conversation. Are you using it? How are you using it? Who are you using it in front of? We can't control these things.
True.
So what is happening and what is the problem when non-blacks are blatantly using it and using it in ways that the context is hatred.
Right.
Because once again, with social media and all the cameras we have, we are catching these white motherfuckers say this shit in ways that means they still hate us. That's the problem.
But going back to the Fat Joe situation, he mentions it in a way that he's describing foundational African Americans, and he's like, these niggas, these radical niggas,
right? Context. That's a problem.
Are basically gatekeeping the word, and they're they're coming with we've revisited history, and basically saying that we can't say nigga because whatever, and he's also saying Puerto Ricans were not there. Well, I mean, he's claiming the foundational African Americans are saying Puerto Ricans were not there during the birth of hip hop.
Right.
So I mean, people are more vexed on his tone.
I don't like the way you're framing that, because the way Fat Joe, he says the N-word literally like every
but that particular interview, that particular sit down.
Like, I feel like you guys are cherry picking something, because when he says, "Oh, these broke niggas," like he's not meaning it in a racial context. Like that's pretty much what.
But the internet took it that way.
Who speaks like
the internet took it that way.
Well, yeah, that's the internet freaking reaching for something that isn't there. Because this is 30 years of Fat Joe saying the N-word.
That's right. Yeah.
This is not a new thing.
Yeah. And like you said, he's grown up in this. He's from the Bronx.
Yeah.
Like context is everything. And as a member of the hip hop community, I'm of the mind that Fat Joe doesn't mean it in the way that is hurtful to our community.
No.
So if Fat Joe says dumb nigga, he's not saying it in a there's no racial undertone there. He's literally just saying, yo, that's a dumb nigga.
Yeah, and I'm as I said, listening to Capital Punishment, he and Fat Joe, they refer to themselves as that often. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes I gotta say, like, yo, it's an argument that's probably always going to be had, because the argument stems from everywhere from stop saying it completely, which is practically impossible to do. It's a word, to how it's used and who's using it. And one of my favorite uses of the word is when it's used for non-blacks by a black person, because like one of my favorite
white nigga here.
one of my favorite scenes in Pulp Fiction is when Jules, Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta, Jules and Vincent are washing their hands after cleaning up the car where the guy got shot, and Travolta's rag is full of blood. And what the first thing that probably goes, damn nigga, like he said, Samuel L. Jackson, Jules says this to I wash my hands. I seen you wet them, but my rag don't look like a goddamn maxi pad. Such a funny, it's classic Sam Jack, right? But the fact that he calls him that, I think speaks so intrinsically to the word, to that we own it. We'll decide how to use it. If we call a white person that, especially in that context, it's not racial. Those two are brethren enough where I'm going to say that to you.
Exactly.
And I think it's only fair and right that, since if we're not going to destroy this word, because again, it sounds pretty impossible to eliminate a word from our language, who uses it and who decides who can use it, I think is the least you can let black people have.
Yeah.
Let's be real. We're talking about a word and its usage. All these years of oppression, from slavery to modern day lynching, that is, again, discussed and shown in my video. You're telling me we can't have a word, bro?
Yeah.
I hate the argument that, well, if you can say it, why can't we? Because you fucking can't, bro. Let us have it.
Oh, my God.
You have to have everything. It's ours now.
Yeah.
Nigga.
That's how you end the segment right there. That's perfect.
That's crazy.
All right,
yeah, man.
All right, let's talk about the video a little bit, man.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, just describe the video to the people, what you're talking about, where they can find it.
Absolutely. Well, Turn It Around featuring Xentury. It just dropped on the 10th. People who know me know I'm crazy about that number 10. January 10th it dropped. And so it is the 4th music video from the Vigilante album. The Vigilante album's primary focus is to destroy a lot of the, crazy shit in the world as this vigilante, MC-wise, and Turn It Around deals with anti-black racism. Of all the topics on the album, this is the one that I think is the most serious, the one that's closest to me. It's the inspiration, if you don't mind holding up, for the album cover. Having a lynched Klansman, I think, is the perfect way to describe how much I and he's hanging from a You can take a look at the Tree Branch because there's a gun violence song on the album too. So Turn It Around is basically like my essay. I was like an English academic, and I, grew up writing, having a thesis and providing evidence to support it. I tend to write my songs like that. Like I'm going to prove to you what I have to say. The Turn It Around song deals with the Tops supermarket shooting in Buffalo in 2022. It contends with the Charleston shooting in Carolina, the church shooting. Yeah. It talks about George Floyd's murder. It discusses Fox News and their rhetoric, Donald Trump's as well. And it also talks about the Ocoee, Florida massacre of 1920, where the Ku Klux Klan wiped out about 50 black people on Election Day. So this is over. Yeah.
Hold on a second. Hold on.
Ocoee, Florida.
How do you spell it? I've never heard of. Have you heard of that?
Exactly. O-C-O-E-E.
I researched on it right after he told me about it.
O-C-O. E-E. Ocoee, Florida. And so that's the beginning of verse 2.
Oh, that's good. Sorry.
Yes. Ocoee, Florida. Yeah. November 2, 1920, Ocoee, Florida. A horrid fuss. I never can quote myself properly. A horrid fuss sent by the white supremacists war with us. So there's some footage, and I don't know if it's exact, but there is a documentary about it that shouts to Flee Normality located so we could sample it for the video.
Was it the national elections or a?
It was, yes, a federal election, and they wanted to prevent black people from voting. So as Glory reads up on the Ocoee massacre, my music video is doing just that, getting people up on the fact that it happened. It's one of many atrocities. There's no way a 4-minute song can cover it all. But what I did was I spanned 100 years, approximately, of atrocities against blacks. And my evidence to support my thesis is all of the footage in the video. The footage exists. And I'm not just talking about the Ocoee massacre because there's not, I don't know if that footage is stock footage from that actual event because there's a documentary about it and we're talking about 100 years ago. But everything else that is recent history, of course, is taken from like news clips and stuff like that to show that, yes, we're continually being lynched and murdered and mistreated and disrespected. And yes, racism isn't just something that we're talking about. It's something that exists, and therefore we're talking about it. And I'm using my platform to do that, and therefore using this video to showcase all of the angst that I feel and put into my music.
I was today's day old when I heard about the Ocoee massacre. Right. This is crazy.
So in the song, I say, community leader July Perry hang from a light post. His bullet-riddled body was the message left by white folks. So when you read up on July Perry, you will find out that he was one of the community leaders. And they didn't just...
People to vote.
Sorry?
He encouraged people to vote.
Absolutely. And he was obviously encouraging, unity and the upward movement of his community. Don't be scared to go out there and vote. And so, they didn't want them to vote. And so they didn't just shoot him. They hung him. And he was put on display, literally, for the whole town to be made aware that this is what you're going to get if you want to vote in an election.
Imagine
they turned Ocoee into a sundown town, which what I learned of the Ocoee massacre, a sundown town is a town that used to have black people in it and does no more. And I say that in the song. So Ocoee became a sundown town after this massacre because why, as a black person, would you want to live there anymore? And, again, this is just one of so many examples of racism that's occurred throughout history. And the problem is, and why I mention you people kept your brains in a storage unit listening to that orange human who only accomplished enormous ruin, incompetent, pompous, and stupid. Fox News is as good as a burning cross of nooses. Your rhetoric so abusive, you're fucking useless. I say all of that shit because this is today's... Thank you, sir. This is today's version of that.
Yeah.
When you have Donald Trump, again, becoming president, it's not like you didn't fuck up once. You're doing it again. And again, we talked earlier about this is the guy who said that Haitians are eating dogs and cats and you're eating it up.
Yeah.
So what have we done in the past 100+ years to stop this rhetoric? And that's what the music in the video really puts out there and tells people.
Do you feel a little discouraged? Do you feel like it's kind of a losing battle? Because just to see like what this, because there's a reason why, racist, bigots, white nationalists align themselves with MAGA. There's a reason for that.
Sure.
and to see it kind of just, take form.
Yeah.
Because we thought maybe after Biden won, that'd be it. 4 years later, here we are
after
again.
Obama won, that would be it.
Yeah. And here we are again. And it just seems like they're stronger than ever.
Yeah, it feels like that sometimes, bro. It does feel like it's a
House,
losing
they won
battle.
the Senate.
Yeah.
They're winning
it was a
culture game. Facebook now is not doing fact checking.
Right.
He's aligning them.
Have you seen Zuckerberg?
Yeah,
on the Joe Rogan show?
Yeah. Like all the billionaires are aligning with Trump now, And
this is what I was saying earlier. It's given power to everybody who might have said it on the hush, and now they're saying it in front of cameras without actually using the words white power or hailing Hitler and shit. What they are doing is saying, we ain't going to fact check the bullshit anymore. It's our platform. We can do it our way. Our guy's the president. It really feels like a bigging up of their chest in all of our faces. It feels that way.
Yeah.
Interestingly, Kamala Harris, I saw this clip of her speaking to, it was actually a very young person who was very distraught about the results of the election. And she said, we haven't been defeated, even though they have been, because the fight continues. And that is the truth. 4 years from now, there'll be another election. We here in Canada have an election coming up, and I'm fearing what's going to happen. And let's be real, I believe that we're going to go conservative next election.
There's no way around it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Look, but here's the thing. With now, I'm glad we're talking Canadian.
Yeah. And this is why I just want to say this. This is why, and I know people are going to ask this, I want to say it now. This is why a Canadian artist will speak on this shit. There is spillover into our country. This is really global. But why do we pay attention to the United States? Everything that's going on in the United States, Canada's well aware of. We are right here on the border. And no, we're not going to become part of the United States, but we know what's going on. And yes, it's going to spill over, and it has, into our politics.
So the reason why I asked you earlier about the correlation about hip hop and over the last 30 years and the white population.
Yeah.
The reason why I asked you that is because can we look at this with a holistic lens and be like, hey, the reason why these white people are going nuts today is because they're hopeless. There's not a lot of business around. There's, they're struggling. Like everybody else is struggling. The whole world's struggling, and now they're new poors. You know what I mean? Like us being minorities, we've been poor forever, and now they're becoming new poors, and they're understanding where they are on the totem pole. You know what I mean? They understand that they're on the bottom of the totem pole. So now they're just looking for causes, and they're looking for excuses on why the shit is not going the way they want it to go. Do you feel like we can look at the whole situation, even with the appearance, not the appearance, but the resurgence of Donald Trump and like that right national wing rhetoric? Could we look at this and be like, hey, this is why it's happening, and I feel sorry for them, and this is what's happening?
No, I don't feel sorry for them at all. I think that it's interesting in some of the language you use in posing that question. You mentioned totem pole, and we recognize that as like a hierarchy where people belong from top to bottom.
Sure.
And it's interesting that you use that, because I do believe that they think with this totem pole mentality and not being on top. That is the very definition of white supremacy, is we're supposed to be on top. And anything that makes us feel not on top. And again, we're asking for equality, Bridget.
That's right.
My whole essence is it means there's no totem pole. We're all supposed to be here. But the totem pole thing comes in, and that's how they make me, and I think a lot of us feel, is like, you feel like you're losing something because of equality. Because in order for there to be equality, we got to do like this. So you feel like you're coming down.
That's right.
As opposed to letting us come up to where you are. So everything from affirmative action to DEI, they use DEI like it's a bad word. They demonize. That's exactly it. They demonize what does DEI stand for? Diversity, equality, and inclusion. Those are positive terms. They've taken the word woke. What does woke mean? To be awake to the truth. To be aware. They take these
of the plight of the black folks.
Right.
So now they've equated that to the LGBT struggle.
Exactly, because any version of equality of a so-called lesser people is they're feeling they're losing their power. That top of the totem pole that they believe that they're on.
Preach, brother.
And so when that happens, they're going to fight against that to reclaim that top of the totem pole and that superiority. That's literally what it is to be supreme or supremacist.
And they've done a great job of demonizing woke, demonizing DEI, like affirmative action.
Right.
Yeah, because they've literally a lot. the left right now has aligned the black struggle with the LGBTQ struggle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's anonymous now, unfortunately.
Right.
Well, not unfortunate, but like it's anonymous because, and then the nationalists will be like, "Hey, we're not against you. We're against the LGBT woke movement." And it's like, really?
Yeah. No. What they're doing is they're really brilliant at conflating the issue and making it sound more confusing than it really is. Mm-hmm. It's hatred.
Yeah,
you don't like people who aren't like you, period. So whatever words you want to use or what words you wish to demonize. So instead of calling us niggers, they're going to say, oh, that woke stuff or DEI. And they use those words as if they're bad words, when really those words are meant to get us to a place of equality.
It's just saying give these people an opportunity.
If you don't want to give people an opportunity, it's because you don't want them coming up to your level. That is in and of itself you being a white supremacist. That is racism. And if you have a problem with anyone who's not, and again, not just racism, it could be, it's homophobia, Islamophobia, everything that's just not you, that is going to get some form of equality in your world, and you're not about it, you're going to use this language to mask the fact that you just hate.
Yeah, think about it. They call Kamala Harris a DEI pick.
Why is she the DEI pick when she
with all her experience,
with all of her experience, academic history, professional experience and knowledge, and Donald Trump, the guy who wasn't even a politician. Yo, bro, like he was not even a politician. He just rose to the highest level.
And you know what's so crazy?
And I don't even think he knows the branches of government. I really don't think he knows like anything when it comes to the government, how it works.
I don't know if you noticed, but like there's a bunch of elections over the last 10 years and people who are just not in politics becoming leaders of countries. For example, Ukraine, Zelensky, he was a comedian.
Wow.
He was a comedian before this. There's a country called Georgia.
Yeah.
Former Russia,
yeah.
Okay. They recently elected an MMA fighter.
Okay.
So this is I think what's happening around the world is that people are just tired of the
status quo and trying something different.
That's right. And like the long-lived politicians. I think
they want to disrupt someone who will shake up the system.
That's right. And I think in the Canadian zeitgeist, I think what's happening now is that with Pierre what's it?
Poilievre? Yeah.
We're gonna see that he's gonna like,
yeah, dude. He's going
to destroy the country.
I'm telling you, bro. Every one of all Canadian Trump fans will vote for this guy.
Absolutely.
And if that doesn't tell you who he is politically, because let me make a just quick comment about what you're saying about politics. I actually, in spite of everything we're talking about and shit I put in my music, I am actually not about politics. I understand if maybe you do want a comedian or an MMA fighter to run your country, because politics and politicians have historically been known for lying and being corrupt. So I'm definitely not a proponent for like put politicians in power and I'm not. My whole vibe, my whole energy has always been about doing for the people. Mm-hmm. If you're going to do right by the people, right on down to every last, like the price of groceries and all these things that matter to the average everyday person. If you're going to focus on helping make our lives better, I'm with you on that. Your political allegiances, right and left and all that stuff, I've never given a fuck about it. It just so happens that where I stand morally always seems to side on what they call the left.
Yep.
So I guess my political allegiance is that, even though I ain't about politics, I just know that when I hear Donald Trump speak, this motherfucker pisses me off. He says a lot of fucked up shit. Oh, he happens to be right-wing? Then I guess I'm not down with you fucking guys. Yeah. Oh, you motherfuckers who don't believe in climate change, even though you got fires all over LA right now. How's that political? Yeah. It's not, but they're on the right. People who don't believe in women's reproductive rights, the freedom of a woman to make a choice of her own body. I don't think that's political. I think that women deserve equal rights as men. But somehow, people on the right. So I just continue to disagree with motherfuckers on the right.
Totally get it.
That's my political. I don't believe in politics. I believe in right and wrong, and I believe the right is wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I think going back into the Canadian like what's going to be happening is we're going to see a lot of cutbacks. So a lot of like
Poilievre, we want you on the show.
We do. I've been sending so many emails.
I would love
Pierre Poilievre. Speak to the people.
Exactly, bro.
Jag, me too. And whoever's going to be leading the liberals
endear
too.
yourself to the people. Because I really believe that that's one of the things that's made Trump the popular, the star that he is. Yes, he was in entertainment first, so that probably helped his stardom.
Absolutely.
But like sometimes you don't even need a political stance. They just need to like you.
Yeah.
I like that guy or that girl or whatever, and I'll vote because you don't even have a leg to stand on in terms of your political beliefs. You didn't even pay attention to the shit. So when you say things that are really characterizing a whole group of people as this, you're cutting off people who might have otherwise voted for you.
That's what,
mind you, I'm very well aware that people of color voted for Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
But what I'm saying is a lot of these politicians, I think, at least from what I've seen in my history and like what I'm aware of, and specifically on the right, I don't like the way they speak. I don't think that they're endearing to the public, generally speaking. So even if I believed in their political stances, I don't really like you. I saw this interview with Pierre Poilievre the other day. Yeah. I'm only just beginning to learn about
the Jordan Peterson one.
Was he eating an apple?
I'm not sure.
Regin, they were in a field somewhere.
Oh, no, that's a different one.
Oh, that was with the reporter.
Yeah, he's there eating an apple. And he goes, some people might say that the rhetoric goes, what people? Well, Canadians. What Canadians? Well, did you talk to... Like, he's just being a dick.
So,
you're not answering no questions. So I'm like, bro, this doesn't endear me to you. Because maybe let's suppose I'm going to switch my vote. Or I'm one of those independent voters and I'm not... Trudeau's really lost favor with the public. And even though I'm left-leaning, let's see who his replacement is. This guy's already the right-wing leader. What do you have to say? I watch that and go, I don't fucking like this guy.
So hold on. So the Canadian right is not the Donald Trump or American right
I think
equivalent.
it's as close as you're going to get. It's not the same.
It's not the same. I would argue that they are more center and then right-leaning, just a tad.
I got friends who are conservatives that are like, these are dope people. And they are closer to the center than they are all the way to the right.
That's correct.
In conversation,
I think that's the Canadian conservative.
I think some people are that way. I can't even speak to this Pierre dude yet, or the rest of Canada, because there's Trump fans here. There's flag waving Trump fans here who are all the way to the right. I, like I said, don't see myself as politically minded, but I know how I stand on the things I care about and deem important. But when I really think about it, I think that I'm left-leaning, but probably closer to the center than someone who's all the way to the left.
Sure.
Because there's some leftist ideologies that I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So as some of the people that I know have had discussions with me, it's like, okay, so if you look at it, like you're on the right, but here, and I'm on the left here, we're closer together than the people over on these sides.
Correct.
So there is an ability for us to have conversations where we don't have to fight and get angry and call each other names. Like maybe we can unify here. But my point is when I hear these politicians speak, often I don't feel they're doing that. They haven't spoken to me. When I go through Jugmeat's social media and he's saying shit, I'm like, yeah, bro. He's even saying it in a way that's endearing to people like me who's like, yeah, I'm not about the bullshit. So the last post I saw is like, Trump wants to put tariffs on our country. This is what I think we should do. Let's fight back with tariffs of our own. I'm like, good, bro. He's standing up for Canada. That didn't sound like a right or left wing thing. It sounded like he was standing up for his country. And that's what we need to be focused on. And I think that even if people are more centered in Canada than they are in the States, the fact that they are on the right means if you do support Trump, you will support Pierre. And even though I've yet to see a whole lot about him, what I have seen people say about him is that he's a Trump crony, right? If you are not about Trump and you are Canadian, you don't want to vote for this guy.
So, like during the recent fiasco with the 51st state,
right?
Pierre basically stood his ground and basically said, "We're not. Don't even think about it. We're my dead body."
And that's good. And that actually, I'm glad you told me that because that speaks to my point. Is don't just be like a Trump blowhard. Yeah. Stand up for your country. That will endear him to some left-leaning people.
I could actually see Pierre and Trump clashing on a lot of.
They're going to be clashing.
That'd be great.
They will be clashing. They will be clashing.
I think that would be beneficial to him because 100%. I think if you're right-leaning in Canada, you're voting conservative anyway, and if you're left-leaning in Canada and Pierre clashes with Trump, he might get your vote.
So the cool thing right now recently is like we had Maxime Bernier.
Yes.
And he's
respect.
He is like not as far right as possible, but he's right. even though he doesn't want to admit it. But he's right.
But I respect that you guys talk to him.
I think he's gonna go balls to the wall this time around.
Yeah, he's gonna go harder.
Yeah,
he's gonna. I think he's gonna win a seat.
Yeah,
I think he's gonna win a couple more seats because
the conversations around immigrants is gonna get.
So the real Donald Trumpers are actually looking towards him.
Is that right?
Yeah, they're looking purple. They're looking purple.
Mm-hmm.
The real, because like right now, Pierre,
they've always had that separatist mentality
for sure.
Anyway,
Pierre speaking to the centrist Canadians who are like, I like my weed, but you know, I don't like too much immigration. You know, like let's slow down the immigration and let's not send money to
no
Ukraine.
Immigration, right? And that's why MAGA was so upset with the H-1B visa and Elon Musk's position on it by letting people from India who are highly skilled engineers come in. But MAGA don't want any immigration.
Right.
None.
Yeah.
So they're going to be disappointed on that because it's beneficial to Elon Musk. It's beneficial to Zuckerberg. It's beneficial to Trump. It's beneficial to all the elites to let these talented people from all over the world come in and help prop up their business and inflate their net worth.
Those are businessmen,
So MAGA, you're going to be so disappointed. There's going to be a lot of infighting these next 4 years. Trust me.
Oh man,
I'm excited. I'm ready.
He's got his popcorn
Oh
ready.
my God.
I think it's perfect timing that what's his face left like with Trudeau.
I think so too.
Perfect timing.
I think you saw the shit show already. And it's like,
and he's just so disliked. But
there's too many people who dislike him.
Yeah.
When I saw the video of him
really
during the Christmas break, of a girl coming up to him in BC, hey Trudeau, hey, how you doing? You should leave. You should get the fuck down. Like, you remember that? You saw the video?
Yeah,
I didn't. But
Canada's the only country in the world where you can walk up to a prime minister.
They get so close to him.
Walk up to a prime minister, have a camera in his face, and tell him you're a fucking goose.
Yeah.
Yo, where's the protection?
The whole country in the world.
Hold on, though. Shouts to Jugmeat. Did you see the thing?
I saw that one.
Who said that? Who said that was the most Scarborough thing I ever seen?
Yeah, because you know what it is. Is like these guys, these ultra right wing guys.
Yes, man.
These ultra right wing guys. They're keyboard warriors.
Yes.
Jagmeet Singh does MMA.
Yeah,
he does MMA.
And the thing is, Jack,
try that with him
too. It's not even just about the fact that
he
has it here. He just has it. He will not be disrespected.
I believe that, and
he just has it there. Yeah.
You know, and that's what it is. Like these guys are just they talk a good game, but when you confront them, they shrivel down.
Absolutely. Yeah, because we live in it. Yo, shouts to my brother Kish. He gave me this word. He deserves credit. They're thumb thugs, bro.
I like that.
He said thumb thugs to me the other night. I'm like, dude,
shout out to Kish.
Shouts to Kish. I had to put that out there. Thumb thugs are exactly that. That's the only time they're hardcore. Keyboard warriors and all the like, man. That's exactly what that.
We want to talk to everybody. Come through. Whatever you want to say, we want to hear it, and we're going to push back.
So do you have anything else? What are the plans musically for 2025?
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited about my next single because I've put together a 10 MC posse cut.
Come on.
And so there's a record on the album called Barsman.
Yeah, I love that song.
Thank you, sir. It's in a way sort of a term I coined for like elite MCism, right? Lyricism. So if you're a barsman or a bars woman for that matter, the new single or remix of Barsman is called Barsmen and Bars Women. So we got 10 MCs, men and women, who are going to be on this, it's not called 5 Minutes of Fire, but it's 5 Minutes of Fire. That's coming in, that's coming down the pipeline.
Can you say who's on it?
Sure, I'm happy to. You know what? I respect you guys so much. I'm going to use this opportunity to give you guys the first ever announcement of this. So last year, I decided to hold a Barsman Challenge, and I was just like, anybody out there with bars, spit on this. So from the Barsman Challenge, we chose 2 MCs. So big shouts to Lotus James and Sonny Hendrix. If you don't know those names,
Sonny Hendrix,
Barsmen, and they appear on the remix. Thanks to that challenge. Big shouts to the ladies, Keisha Fresh, Phoenix Pagliacci, and Eternia, all spit. The original Barsmen are on it. That's Decisive. Myself, of course, Quake Matthews and Jay Schultz. And representing the Mighty Monolith, my brother Grimace Love spits bars on it too.
Nice.
So those are your 10 MCs, and that is coming in the next couple of months.
Is there a video for it? Or will they be?
It's in the talks.
This is gonna be crazy.
We're in the talks now.
Yo,
imagine
if you
putting
can get
10.
Quake Matthews fly across. That'd be great.
Well, this is the thing. It's funny because my last message to Quake was like, hey, we're trying to do this thing, and obviously he's in Halifax, right? So we're trying to figure out logistics in terms of how and where to shoot it. Some people might have to shoot in remote locations. It is in the works, fellas. I promise you, when I figure it out, I'll let you guys know. But that remix is on the way.
Do you know where the Juno is this year?
I think Vancouver. I think it's Vancouver.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
You want to go?
If they give us media passes, like
I would love to go nominate Vigilante. I mean, choose Vigilante.
Yeah.
It is, of course, we send it through. You have to submit.
Okay.
Yes. So Vigilante has been submitted to the Junos. We'll see. Listen, regardless of anybody's opinion, it's one of my favorite, albums, but definitely my favorite album of my career.
What keeps you going? Like, dude, you've been doing this.
Yeah, very long time.
I think it's the love. I think it's
92, 94?
Before that, brother.
Jesus Christ.
Because in 91, I was on Electric Circus. So I can't remember if
with you in
Lindo P.
Lindo P.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
And there's a clip of that in the Like We music video. So I'm proud of that because, I can't believe how much time has passed. I'm so dating myself. But dude, I wear it like a badge because I got on that show and won a contest when I was 13. And that kind of started my foray into this whole thing. And to answer your question, I'm still that 13-year-old, bro. Like that song, by the way, that's the oldest footage you can find of me. If you YouTube Can't Test Me, Danny O and Lindo P, you'll see it. And I'm spitting at 13, basically doing my best Big Daddy Kane impression.
Yeah.
High top cameo and everything. Because I love that essence of hip hop, spitting and being a dope MC. And I haven't let go of that. Man. Just now as a grown ass man with all these years of experience, the thing that really feeds me is that I believe that I'm only getting better with time. I teach it. So I'm seeing the way that youth are coming up in our city and using hip hop as an art form to express themselves. And also the shit that I have to say matters. You know what I'm saying? My first album was nothing about being mad that I never put a record out. Like the Dear Hip Hop era was just spitting for the sake of spitting. And now you obviously know what I'm spitting about more than anything. And that's what keeps me going is if I really feel something is important to me, I'm going to put it in my music. The album before this, The Day It All Changed, was all about becoming a father. So that's where I put my energy. And whatever inspires me next, that will be my next record.
What does your daughter think about you being a rapper? Is she fascinated by it, or is she like, "Oh, Dad, are you doing that thing again?" When
she's a little of both. Yeah, a little of both. Because, like for example, man, I teach songwriting, and I've been doing workshops throughout the city for the better part. I think I said that earlier for like 2 decades now, man. Her principal last year discovered who I was and brought me in. And I have taught workshops at her school.
Oh, shit.
The first time I did a workshop, she's like, Daddy, don't put the album cover. Don't show, don't tell people. I'm like, don't worry. So I show up and I do this workshop and the kids love it.
Hell yeah.
And all of a sudden, Daddy's cool, man.
Yeah.
And she's like putting up her hand. And I did workshops throughout the day with like different sections.
She was extra nice at home too, eh?
At home, what?
She was extra nice at home that night. Like she was really.
Oh yeah. Well, I love my kid. She's really an easy kid to raise, and she's always a sweetheart. To the point where she'll make fun of me and tease me and stuff. It's like, well, you're not that famous, Dad, or something like that.
I love it.
But also has memorized lyrics off the album and like, I showed my friends your video. So sometimes I'm cool, sometimes not so much. Like for example, one of my recent posts. I'm doing my own personal year in review, and I posted when I entered Cardi's challenge and spit some bars for his challenge. She filmed it. So in my post, it shows me and her on our way to film this thing. And she's like covering her face. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, don't show me. I'm like, are you embarrassed of your dad? She's like, yeah. So I get a little of everything and it's all love. It's fun. It's fun. It's fun.
I get it.
I love it.
That's cute. I love that.
Yeah, no, she's great, man.
Yeah.
I really... So you have the Barsman video coming out or the song coming out.
The single
soon?
is definitely coming. Video, I hope.
Do you have a message out for Toronto artists for 2025?
Yeah, that's a great question because there's so much that I have. We've talked about it a lot already. I would say, coming from me, and maybe this is like the old dude response, but be yourself, man. Bring something to this art form and to this culture that no one else is bringing. Originality is really all you have. We came up in an era where if you were biting, you get called on.
Absolutely.
I remember when Onyx dropped and that yelling rap, motherfuckers started yelling. DOS effects dropped, and motherfuckers was putting Iggity in their raps. Yeah. So it's an age-old thing to bite, or at least to be influenced by something. And today, I think, honestly, more so than ever, we're hearing a lot of artists who are all sounding like that sound. So my message to you is be yourself, be unique, and stand out. Very possibly, and I've even honestly admitted this in my record, you might be a much bigger star than I am in terms of your Instagram followers and what maybe people are like saying about you online. You guys have said a lot of names on the show of artists who I know are like really making waves who I know nothing about. So again, this might come from a place where you might not want to listen, but I'm telling you, you ask what keeps me going. My longevity, I really believe, is in I never left my lane. I know who I am. I know who I'm not. So you never heard me make like a pop song or, you know, like I'm not, you know, I've experimented. I love soul music. And so it's been in my music, but it's always been me. It's always been from an honest place. And I think if you're in this for longevity, as opposed to maybe like a quick, fast, I don't know, attempt to make a buck or be popular online, you will last if you're doing you. So I'm going to use that as my message.
I love that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it just seems like now, like instant gratification is a thing. So get some clout now and da-da-da. Like, and I don't understand. When you're like 20, it's hard to even see like 20 years ahead, much less like 5 years ahead. You know, it's all about now and paying the bills now. I want to get famous now. And then when you're that young, all of that glitz and glamour shit is very appealing. So
of course,
clout now, cry later. Clout now, cry later.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is Black Mob. This is episode whatever, we don't know, but actually, you know what? No. It's 565. Episode 565. Wow. I'm over here to my right. I got
Glory.
Over to my far right, I got
your bro Danny O.
And we having the conversations that you can't have with the people you can't talk to.
Great convo,
Steady Mobbin.
Yes, as always.
Oh my God. Great conversation.
Respect, fellas. It's always a pleasure, man.
Yeah,
Big
that was
time.
great.
You guys are my favorite. Honestly, man. Like I get jokes from.
There's a couple of emotions. Yeah, food creates emotion because when you're hungry, you want the food that you want. Friends create emotion because when you go and you hang out with your friends and you go and have a good time with your friends. And especially if they're your old friends, so they have history on you for time. But music, why do you think all these older people sit there and still listen to 70s classic rock? Because they remember where they were on that moment when that song was playing. And they remember, because I remember the first time I ever heard Who Shot Ya from Biggie Smalls. Cheers.
Yeah, I love that track.
Yeah, is that audio fucking good on that? We'll fucking wing it. We're gonna wing it.